I believe I was about 12 years old when I sat down with my, hey buddy, have a good day. I sat down with my uncle on the tailgate of the pickup truck out in the driveway in central Texas. And I asked him a question that was really pressing on my heart. And I remember his answer pretty well. It may not be exactly word for word, but it was pretty close. I asked him, what does it mean to be a real man? What is a real gentleman? He said, well, what do you mean by that, and why do you want to know? And, you know, my dad had been gone since I was 4 or 5 years old. My stepdad died when I was 9, and so there wasn't a real strong male influence in my life besides my two uncles. One of them had a bit of a, I wouldn't say spotted past, I would say striped past. But he, still a good guy. He's a different guy now than he was way back then, almost 40 years ago. But the answer I got that day was, well, John Wayne is a real man. John Wayne is a gentleman. He's rough and he's tumble, and he'll shoot you if you need it, and he'll beat you up if you need it, but he always treats the ladies well. That was it. That's what I got. What does it take to be a man? How do I grow up to be a good man, to be a good father, to be a good husband? That's what I got. That was my training. And I'd like to think that I'm the oddity, that I'm the rare one, that of all the men in the world, I'm the only one who got that much training. But I know it to be a fact because of the conversations that I've had with others, that was probably better training to be a father, a husband, and a man than most young men get over the course of their lifetimes. What it means to be a gentleman, what it means to have integrity, what it means to stand firm on the things that you believe, what it means to treat a lady right. Those are days gone by ideas in a lot of circles. And there are places where if you open the car door for a young lady, she takes offense. If you hold the door open for her to go into a building, she feels like you're saying to her, you're not capable or competent at opening a door. I've actually heard young ladies say, what's wrong with you that you think I can't open my own door? I don't understand that philosophy. And yet it doesn't seem to be slowing down any. It's not like the idea of being a man or being a good father or being a good husband has taken a turn, and suddenly we have a society that's all about this level of responsibility that comes with impregnating a young woman or comes with the age of becoming an adult male. We have, on the other hand, seen attacks against what it means to be an adult male, to live out the biology that you were created with from the original creator in every sense. The games that men play, the games that boys play, the games that we love to play, the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu, the football, the racing cars, all of those have been under attack for a decade or so. Boxing has taken a huge hit in popularity. Now, MMA has come on as a new sport with a new level of popularity. It hasn't had the same level of attacks yet, but I think it will. I think it will. That doesn't change the nature of a man. What you promote in the media or don't may impact the way people perceive and think, but the nature of the man, what it means to be a man, those are innate drivers. You know, I've never seen a kumquat that you could alter from being a kumquat into something else surely by persuasion. You have to genuinely genetically modify it to make it become something else. Now, lest you think I'm completely nuts, do a little research on some of the medications that are given for ADD and ADHD, and look back at the history of the use of the medication. And you're going to see a couple of things that are startling. Number one, it's given to boys at a significantly higher rate than it's given to girls in public schools. recommended for them. Of course, it's given by the doctor and the parents because the boy has a hard time sitting still for 7 or 8 hours a day. I can't tell you how many schools have completely done away with recess. I would have been nuts. I would have been absolutely bonkers, bouncing off the wall, if they made me sit in a desk for 8 hours and only get up to go to the bathroom. Couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was bouncing off the wall half the time, even with fourth period athletics. That meant I got to go and let out a bunch of energy just before lunchtime, and then had lunchtime right after that, and then I would come back to class. And I was still wired. I can't imagine the idea of expecting like my grandsons. They range from 2 months old to 12 years old. I can't imagine any of them sitting in a desk for 8 hours. But if you give them enough, like Ritalin or Adderall, you can pretty much unwire them from bouncing off the wall. You can sedate them, but they're still mentally conscious. Unfortunately, it also causes them to grow larger memory glands. You think I'm crazy? Look it up. Look it up. So if we can't get a boy to act like a little girl, then we'll just sedate them. We'll modify their DNA so that a kumquat is no longer a kumquat. It looks much more like a persimmon. It's frustrating, really. I had a brief conversation yesterday evening at the Life Today studios with John Eldridge. And it's been almost 30 years since I read his book, Wild at Heart. And at the same season of my life, within about 18 months, I read Wild at Heart. I read Bringing Up Boys by Dr. James Dobson. And I read Becoming a Person of Influence by Dr. John Maxwell. And those 3 books shaped the who that I am more than anything other than the Bible. Those 3 books enlightened me that the ideas that I held about being a boy, being a man, were not alien. They were different than society. They were different than what I had seen around me growing up in a house full of women, but they were not alien. Those books reinforced in me that I do have a right to be a man and a responsibility as a man. That there are certain things that little boys should never be exposed to, but I was. And that there should be certain levels of discipline and expectations in the transition from clinging to mom to clinging to dad. The looking, that conversation when I was about 12 years old with my uncle. That conversation was right on target. According to all of the research of all of the books, the ones that I'd read up to that point were nothing. Those 3 books changed everything. And the books that I've read since then, they all reinforce that idea that around 9 to 12 years old, what was a boy becomes a man. And releasing mom's apron strings, looking for, calling out to, begging for the semblance of a man to be a mentor, to be an influencer, to be an impactor, to be the one in their life that says, this is what it means to be a man. Don't act like that. Don't treat someone like that. No, you don't need a gun. I ran into a gentleman yesterday. I remember his first name is Gary. I'd have to dig out his card to look up his last name. But we had a brief conversation as well about mentoring. And he made a very powerful statement. He said, when mentoring is done right, jobs stop bullets. I want you to hear that phrase again. Jobs stop bullets. Now, I don't agree with that to the degree that all violence can be brought to an end if you just get them jobs. That was kind of our former president held a philosophy that if we just gave good jobs to the men in ISIS, they would no longer attack us. I don't think it goes that far. I don't believe that simply giving money to someone who wants to destroy you ideologically will change their ideologies. I do, however, believe that activity like gang activity, buying and selling drugs, buying and selling guns, prostitution, things of that nature, are often a result of a depressed economy in a particular area or city or part of town, where opportunity, whether it be based on race or education or work ethic, where opportunity is minimized. And through mentoring to prepare someone for a job, to give them the connections necessary to get a good job, those referrals are priceless. I can tell you, even at my own age, and I've worked hard to build relationships before asking for referrals. But when I'm looking for new clients or looking for a new job or looking for a new relationship in a specific arena, I understand that there's a process to building relationship, which means proving that I'm trustworthy, proving that I'm loyal, proving that I'm faithful, proving that I can be relied on before asking for the help, before asking for the job, before asking for the reference letter, before asking for the opportunity. And that has not been taught. I visit with a group of guys pretty much every morning while I'm having my coffee. And they are enlightening me to a whole different world that I've never seen. Yesterday, they educated me on what it means that I have white privilege. I have to be honest and say, I can see their point. In some areas, I can agree that I was treated differently. Would I call it white privilege? Well, no, because I'm white, number one. Number two, because when those events happened in my life, I wasn't even thinking about race. I didn't realize, acknowledge, couldn't have called it white privilege. I'm not even sure the phrase existed then. But now all of a sudden I'm guilty of it. Interesting. And so I asked these gentlemen, when Gary mentors these young people to get a job, to get off the streets, to get out of drugs, to grow up, to get their education, to be better men, does he also educate them on what it means to separate the races, the white privilege versus the underclass, that we need to get even? Is that part of that mentoring process? And one of the guys looked at me and said, look, I teach young people what it means to be black. And that's different than what it means to be white. I thought, well, that might be part of our problem. Might be part of our problem. We accuse people of separatism and racism and religious discrimination. But if that's what we're mentoring them to, if we haven't picked some standard that says this is what it means to be a good person, a good human being, of whatever color, of whatever persuasion, of whatever sexual orientation, to be a good human being looks like this. Let me train you how to do that. And let the chips fall where they may. In the same day that I had that conversation, I sat with a young man who's probably in his, early 30s maybe, 15 to 20 years younger than me. And we talked about his business. And I said, how's it going? He said, well, it's slower than I thought it was going to be. I expected this and I'd hoped for that, and it's not working like this. And so we sat for probably 10 or 15 minutes and just talked about ideas for his business. We just brainstormed. And he pulled out his phone and he started taking notes, and he looked at me, he's like, why did you do that? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, you just gave me more business ideas than I've had in a year. Why would you do that? I'm like, why would I not do that? I mean, I can't see a reason that I wouldn't help you grow. I can't justify knowing how to help someone and not doing it. Whether that's changing their tire on the side of the road or pointing their camera a different direction because they're trying to take a selfie when there's 30 people there to take a photo for them. I don't get it, not helping others. It's outside of my comprehension. Is that what we're mentoring into young people? Or are we teaching them to be the one who watches the fight and videos it so they can get all the YouTube views rather than stepping in to break it up before someone gets seriously hurt? When I had a chance to visit with John Eldridge last night, I told him, as I've shared here before, about the Christmas with my dad this last year. That's a moment I'll treasure for a long time. Having the opportunity to have 3 generations, 4 generations of our family together in one place, it's a rarity. It hasn't happened more than once or twice as long as I've been alive. I pray that it continues. I pray one day that I will be invited to Christmas with my great-grandchildren, that I will have a chance to hang out with them and see their little personalities and see how mom and dad have taught them to behave and to love one another. I pray that the ideas and the influences that I'm beginning to build today, not just in my children, but in my grandchildren and in those around me, that influence will also be seen. Are you intentional about the legacy that you're leaving behind? Have you thought through what does it mean to be a man, a good man? What does it mean to be a good woman, a good father, a good wife, a good husband, a good mother? Have you thought through what that really looks like? And not to draw any tension between you and your parents, but if you took a whiteboard and listed the pros and cons of you as a parent now compared to the parents who raised you, what are some things that you would list and say, I'd like to be able to do this better? I think if this had happened in my life, I would be different. I can start now taking responsibility to see that that happens in my children and my grandchildren's lives. Parenting like an old tree. When's the best time to plant it? 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Right now. Mentoring, discipling, teaching, training, call it whatever you want to, is absolutely essential, especially for young people. I'm going to get in touch with Gary again. I want to spend some time volunteering, mentoring with his team, the young people that he has influenced. I would like to be a part of their lives. I would like to learn from them. I would like to share with them. I want to challenge you, if you have an opportunity to mentor outside your family, to broaden your own perspectives, to meet young people who are opinionated, who are thoughtful, who are strong-willed, who have fought to survive, who might need a little nudge in a different direction. That doesn't mean they're unlearned. That doesn't mean they're unintelligent. Some of the best businessmen I've ever known have made their fortunes dealing drugs. It's just a fact. What will you do to invest in the next generation? What does it mean to you to be a real man? Paul Lewis Cole has carried on the tradition of his father, Edwin Lewis Cole, through the Maximized Manhood process. All over the world, I believe he's in Brazil this week, doing the work of his father. Maximized Manhood is a pretty good place to start. Wild at Heart is a really good place to start. The Attitude Hack that will be released in the next couple of weeks, pretty good place to start. But many men can't live as a man in relationship with other men because they're terrified of being revealed in their weaknesses. They see their own failures, their own mistakes, their own pains of the past, their own victimhood, and they say, and no one else understands what I've been through. No one understands what I've done. And I can't be in close relationships because of that. 5 battle strategies of a victorious warrior was the journey to freedom that I walked through. Now, sometimes I consider myself a slow learner. It took me 25 years to get past that addiction. It took me 13 years to write the book on it. But I'm going to tell you right now, the steps that God walked me through, the relationships he built in my life, the lessons that I learned, they're pretty solid. And I think they will work for just about anyone who's looking for freedom in their life. My addiction was pornography. My weakness was sexuality. The chink in my armor, if you will, the thorn in my side, all evolved around sexuality. I wasn't a drug addict. I never started smoking. I didn't drink. I recognized my addictive patterns the first time I played a slot machine, and I pretty much walked away from gambling. But sexuality owned me, and I was a slave. If there's something like that in your life that you're horrified to be transparent about, that you're terrified to tell the truth about, that you want to get free from, but you don't want anybody to know that you're struggling until you're free, pick up 5 Battle Strategies of the Victorious Warrior, because that's what it's about. And there's a lot in there about growing your faith, and there's a lot in there about being free, and there's a lot in there about changing the way you think. I truly believe that your mind is the greatest tool you have to change your life. But if it's untamed, it's also your greatest enemy. You got to get your mind under control. It's a big deal. 5 Battle Strategies and the Attitude Hack both focus on learning to tame your mind. What does it mean to surrender it? You can learn it from there. If you would like to proofread that book, proofread it. Send me your email in a private message, and I will send you a PDF copy. Now, I'm going to send it to you free of charge for now. But I do expect feedback. Don't just ask for a free copy of the book to get a free copy of the book. I want your feedback. I want your comments. I want your, hey, I'm reading this on page 152, and what a load of crap. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Good. Give me a chance to re-explain it. Maybe it'll change someone else's life. If you find a typo, let me know about those too. If you find a section theologically you look at and go, that's just not what Scripture says about this, tell me. Let's discuss it. Let's hash it out, because I want it to be life-changing for other people. But if you're just going to get the book to read it, you can buy it. I think that's fair. If I'm going to send it to you for free, I want a little skin in the game. Give me some feedback. Tell me what you think. I'm glad to send it to you, but I want a commitment from you. Is that fair? Yeah. It's called being a man. Ladies, you're welcome to it as well. And I think you'll get as much out of it as men will. The book is not written sexually one way or the other. It's not written for men or written for women. It's written for people who want to be free. Simple as that. I am J Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell All I Get Is TV. Have a blessed day.